everybody, and welcome to Dot's Tryhard Tuesday, where we learn to try a little bit harder. I am your host, the Grand Wazoo, and sitting with me is, well, you all know him, you all love him. He is your Grandmaster and mine. That's Grandmaster Flubb. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Good. So, back again on the old Tryhard train. Game of Dota is interesting with the whole report system change. Not going to get into that too much, but Valve is actively looking at the system. Obviously, I kind of find it interesting. Have not been affected by the change at all. It seems like some people were talking about Sing Sing and stuff, getting one report and going to low prio or something on a game he won. And subsequently, they changed it so you can only report after games. So, interesting news in the game world. Flubb, do you have anything else that you would like to add that's happened in the last week of Dota? And if not, how have your games been?
Oh man, I gotta say, I've already loved the hero for so long, and I've been talking about him for forever. But Warlock is so great, man. Oh my god, I love that hero.
Yeah, it's incredible. What change are you referencing exactly, though?
It's not even a change. It's just man, that hero is so great, and I mean, people are starting to pick him up now and realize how good he is. In general,
he was good for a long time. It feels like people really liked him, but
yeah, it's one of those things that he wasn't picked up for forever in any pro tournament or anything like that, and then just recently in the past month or so, they've really grown to really like the hero and realize his presence as a support in lane. And people always complain that his ult was too long, and it's yeah, his ult is long, you just got to play around it and have other heroes that don't have that long ult as well. You just have to really take advantage of it when it comes around. And oh my god, dude, just the way that it works, having the ability to, we talked about last week, not being able to get a lot of experience as supports, using that tome of experience to bump yourself up. Once that 10-minute mark comes around, pretty much guarantees you hitting level 6 at that point as Warlock. You grab a smoke, and you just you go somewhere, that person's going to die because a golem's dropping on their face.
You play him as a roaming support after that point, and you just go inflict pain with the rock drop?
Well, it's funny. You rock drop. You want to rock drop someone near their tower, and then you just want to attack their tower. It's you gank and you push. You gank and you push every time. And
I would call that strategy the rock lobster.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Rock lobster. But there's so many cool things you can do with him, man. One of the things we ran the other night is a combo that I've loved for a really long time that people haven't ran in forever. Bane Warlock. It's a really funny combo because you get level 1, you get your area slow on Warlock. I'm forgetting the name right now.
Upheaval. That's right. I want to call it Fatal Bonds.
So you get upheaval and you get the sleep on Bane. You put someone to sleep, you upheaval them in that area. As long as they don't have a blink or a way to quickly get out of the upheaval,
they dead.
They did, because they're in it for a good 5 seconds in upheaval, and upheaval was just all right, you're gaining that slow over time by sitting in there. And it was funny, we ran versus a Wind Ranger, and I just we just upheavaled her and put her to sleep, and she was still moving like molasses when she got out, even with Wind Run.
It is very, very good as a slow. Slows are very good early game as well. I mean, arguably better than stuns in terms of value. I guess you guys heard it here first. Warlock has been something that's gone from being good to bad to good, it feels like, because he was good for a while. You even saw him picked up by Virtus Pro, I think, in TI 5 or 6 as core. It's called Core Lock. And he plays the safe lane and runs, and you can catch anybody, and has a good, reliable stun. And so it kind of got me thinking about the complexities of the hero in a weird way, because he feels like he can be a lot of things at once. And if you have him in a really strong support duo, I don't see why he wouldn't be really strong. You don't hear much about him, at least I don't.
Yeah. Well, the thing is He's a very hard hero to understand his true potential because all of his spells aren't um you will save this guy automatically, or you will stun this guy automatically, or you will slow this guy with given percent if you hit it. It's like, okay, given the right scenario, this ability of his is incredible and can do a lot. Generally in team fights, he's like the team fight hero because I mean, Fatal Bonds, Upheaval, his ultimate, those three are all very great at team fighting. Massive AoE.
His abilities are incredible. Can you so Fatal Bonds, it's just a percentage of damage that you do to the linked unit that is done to the hero it's on, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a percentage base of what you've done to the target, and it splits off. You get a new target each level that you go up. So it's really important to have it at a higher level, but you don't need it like super high. It's kind of a it's one of the heroes that I like to really talk about whenever I say you build towards the problem you're faced with, not what works every game. A lot of heroes that you'll find it's like, okay, you have to build these abilities at this time because that's how the hero works. It does the max amount of damage this way, maximum amount of stun, and it just doesn't really have the effect. But each one of his abilities has okay, it works much better at this level, so you really need to decide what you need from the hero at that given point.
Yeah, and it becomes more so about that. And we're going to get into this discussion a little bit more later with what the topic of the episode is. So my week in Dota, I've been playing a ton of Mirana and
Nice.
Zeus.
Nice.
And I like Mirana because you can like throw her anywhere, and it's always good to dome someone in the face with an arrow. Like it's always really good, and her ult's pretty good at my level because people don't buy dust or anything like that, or sentries really. And if they do, like, I can typically deboard it, and it's pretty cool. It's like you just roaming support badass who domes people in the face with sick touchdowns on their face.
Oh yeah.
And I'm actually learning how to play the hero on land arrows reliably now, which is nice just by like seeing how someone paths and just knowing. It's a lot like if you've done like college math and stuff. It's like the point that two lines meet. With the hero being one point and the arrow being the other, you want them to intersect at one point, and they will. Like, and they can run into the side of arrows and stuff and get domed by it a lot easier. And I feel like that's something I've been good at lately. That's helped me my play grow, is just kind of focusing on the other things that I was bad at, and now I'm getting better at because I focused on it, such as landing arrows and armlet. So that's kind of just been my week of Dota. I mean, I'm doing the Flubb method, actually, which is play like one game. I'll play one game. If I win, awesome. I just stop and I'll go play a little bit of Overwatch. If I lose, I think about what I did wrong, and I just kind of step back from the game and don't play anymore because I don't want to get tilted.
Yeah, it's a good method, and it's funny. There's times where I definitely go away from my own method, and I do regret it sometimes. Sometimes it does help me, but at the if you look at the end process of what you have, you're really only as good as what your first game is, or you don't have to play one game a day, but it's one game in like in a session, right? You don't want to like play this high amping game that takes you an hour of your life and then jump back into it right back to back. You need to give yourself that breathing room, whether it's like you said, go play another game, watch a TV show, work on something that you want to do, whether it's like writing, reading, just enjoying yourself, going to grab a bite, getting that like refresher, that new mindset really puts the game in perspective.
Right, and that's interesting. I feel like Valve is trying to show that kind of with how the new report system is based, just kind of getting up and de-stressing and coming at it with a non-emotional mind can be definitely a good thing. So that's kind of been my week. I don't have much time to play more than a game or two a night. So
Hmm.
I'll typically, if I do play two, I'll play the one and then I'll give it like an hour or so break and then I'll get back in and I'll play another one. And so that's like the Flubb method. Doctors are writing about it all over the world in scholarly journals. I mean, it's a real method out there, and it's written by our very own Flubb. And it's very good. I think having that de-stress period is important in lots of activities. So, I don't know. Food for
Yeah.
thought. But that being said, we are just going to roll, or rather, hook our way into the next discussion. Get over here, Pudge. I almost called you Pudge. Get over here, Flubb, because we are going to saddle up for a discussion on everybody's favorite pub stomper, Pudge. And Flubb has a lot of history with the hero, and I wanted to learn about him. He's in the mythos of not just Dota 2, but gaming in general, these mechanics and stuff, and what they've been done with over time. So we wanted to have that discussion. So, Flubb, why don't you kick us off and let us know what Old Pudgy the Butcher means to you?
Well, see, the thing is he's changed over time. But the core concept of like what Pudge has been the same for a good number of years. The old Pudge, the only thing that's really different, that's something that Dota 2, all old Dota 2 members will remember, not even going back to Dota 1, was that his ultimate didn't used to heal him unless you got an Ag Scepter. That change was actually really crucial, and it is one of the reasons why he had a huge resurgence when that actually happened. I think that was a couple patches ago, and then they like nerfed him a little bit and took away like the Aetherlands having the magic resistance, which actually brought him back into a reasonable level, and people weren't just like pub stomping the hell out of games with him.
And of course, this
Um,
is the most played hero in Dota 2 most of the time.
yeah,
Months, and years going because not only is he someone that can withstand a lot of damage, he's also someone that can hook people out of location, and landing a hook is a sign of, a good player, at least at my skill level. And being able to do it consistently is really powerful because people are out of position a lot. And when you're out of position and you get hooked, you're way more out of position.
well, it's funny that you say that too, because it's an ability that you can mess up really easily. Like you can hit your own allies and you can hit the enemies. So it's all about like the right positioning, the understanding of like when they're gonna be, where they're at, moving in such a way that you're not going to have those problems, and that's really hard to find. Whereas like if you were to go to a game such as HOTS, Heroes of the Storm. Their version is like Stitches, I believe his name is. He can actually he goes through allies. He can't actually hook them unless you go down like a certain tree or something in that game. Which if you're like taking that into account, that's so much easier to hit like on an enemy in that scenario, and there's a lot less to worry about.
It would make it
Whereas
too
like
overpowered, though, because think of it like you hook a guy through another guy.
exactly.
It's
Like
like
I think it's a silly thing for that game, but like that game is a little bit different on like levels on their hook doesn't do anywhere near the damage, and it's not like the same style of guy. But I think it's fair for Pudge nowadays because if you miss that hook, you got a long time until you're able to hook again. It's a it's an ability that's yes devastating if you do grab someone. And the thing is you need levels, so you have to depend on getting those kills in the beginning to then let yourself get that level advantage to be able to hook more. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't see is that when they talk about this hero, they're saying, "Oh man, this guy's so crazy. He can just like pull you out of position all the time." And it's like, okay, he can, but if with the right use of wards, understanding where he's gonna be trying to farm at, uh, well, where he's gonna be trying to farm you at, is very important. And a lot of people when they like see me play Pudge, they ask me like why I move in a certain way or why I'm going because it's like I, it's tried and tested to like that I move in these certain patterns because he's all about understanding that he is all about getting into the person's mind. Skill shots in Dota are um, the it's not only about trying to get into the idea of you need to be able to hit these skill shots. It's using their mind against them, saying, okay, I think that they're going to be here, so I can't be over here, and I'm going to miss out on a bunch of farm because of it. Ah, screw it, I'm going to go in there. And then you hook and you get them. Man, they're going to think twice about even going out there to farm. They're just going to sit there in like experience range.
Yeah, those mind
Of the
games
game.
are huge in a gank as well. I mean, you don't have a choice but to move back, pretty much.
Exactly.
If it's a 3v2 and a Pudge is there with his and has his ult, it's like if you get hooked out from your tower, you're dead, and it's not that hard to hook you out from under that tower. One thing I've noticed about those mind games is it's better when they don't see you, you know? And like Mirana, the concept of landing an arrow, it's similar but different as a hook because you still got to have the straight line and all that. But at the same time, it's like the best arrows I see are ones that just come out of fucking darkness and just slap you in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they didn't even see it coming, but they're so into that person's mind that they know when that person's gonna like sense something's wrong and back up from the lane, and then they just take one right to the head.
And that's a good point that you made, is that a lot of people just they don't really understand the concept of it's about trying to trick them. And there's a lot of people, oh man, I've played with people on my friends list that do this all the time. They'll play Mirana and they'll TP out to a lane, and when they TP out to like save me or whatever, or to like chase down the guy, instead of like cutting into the woods and going like away from the person so that they can shoot an arrow or throw a hook out to then get them, they move into the lane, which is like quote unquote the faster path, not by much. And then they throw an arrow like right next to their creeps, and it's like, okay, well, they saw you throw the arrow. Like they're watching me run after them, so they're gonna see that arrow coming and move easily, or see that hook coming easily.
This is like the skill shot equivalent of like calling for backup into lane and people just port like right out in front of all these creeps, and they're like, I'm here, and you're like, yeah, the whole fucking map knows you're here now. Go back to your lane and farm, and you like kick them in the butt, you know?
Yeah,
Because it's like it's better to have them not know. With Pudge, it's a little harder because you have a big model, for one. He's huge and scary. And not only that, he rattles, you know? Like, you can hear the rattling when he's around sometimes. And so that's bad, too. But they kind of solved that with the Aether Lens, because now you can hook from even further away. And this kind of has made it a little more interesting. They're uncapping lots of things in the game. And getting that is... it's always something that surprises me, because I have all these habits from playing with the hero when his range was confined to the parameters that I knew, and now that it isn't, I still find myself not thinking he can initiate from that range and just getting my ass hooked.
yeah. It's pretty surprising when you think that it's 1,300, and he bumps it up to 1,500. That's just
It's only a
like,
200 bump, huh?
I believe so.
It feels like he's like back in the fountain having a cup of tea, and I'm in my jungle, and he like rips me out. You know, like remember that old glitch? We've talked about it on the show before, between the games Navi and Alliance, where they had that glitch that they could pull across the map using Pudge or something.
Yes.
And so like this is a hero that's been around, and like I think he got like some of that like cheesy rep because of moments like that. We've all seen that video, or if you haven't, you should go look it up. But pretty much you could like, it used to hook you from, it would pull you to where Pudge is, not from where the hook was initiated. So now if you do this, you hook, and if you were to like be able to relocate or something out of there real quick, it won't pull you where Pudge has landed if the hook hasn't arrived yet. You know what I mean? With the package. It used to pull you all the way back across the map if the Pudge was relocated or something, and you just die in fountain. And so it's kind of interesting to see where the heroes come, and how like physicality and technology has played a huge factor in the hero. And you see comes from like the whole concept comes from the Butcher from Diablo, that eventually became a model for Dota and Dota 2, and it's used in Overwatch, it's used in HOTS, all these different models, and it just surprises me how far the concepts come in terms of just gaming in general.
It's because the hero, like, it's funny. I think we've talked about, we haven't talked about it, but other show hosts have talked about this. I think last week on the Monday show, they talked about like how the hook is kind of like a dumb thing that's like based around the hero. It's kind of funny. I kind of find that redeeming. I like that there's an ability that's like kind of like this is what the hero is, because that concept has been, like you said, it's been like you reused in other games because of how much fun people are having with that ability, that they have to pull it from other places. Like people are like, "Oh man, that is like the most fun thing." Like I don't even play Dota, but I played this guy named Pudge, and like he threw a hook, and like he just pulled this guy over to him and beat the crap out of him. It was like the coolest thing I've seen.
They've
It's like,
also in all these examples, I might add before you continue,
yeah.
they really nailed the sounds and the image of him. It's
Oh yeah.
frightening in every iteration, but please continue on.
No, actually you just, it's funny, Wazoo. You just actually went into my next point, which is,
Yeah,
I
right,
mean,
Flubb. That was my point, man. No, I'm
it's the
joking.
scorpion. No, it's the
The
scorpion
scorpion.
sound effect, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I
every
didn't.
you had that growing up probably. You played some Mortal Kombat growing up,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
guessing.
yeah.
Oh
Wow.
yeah. Like I
Yeah, to
mean,
get over here.
the I feel like those scorpion players that played Mortal Kombat, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get behind this guy who says our favorite phrase from
That's
that
so
game."
interesting. I never even thought of that, and I played Mortal Kombat. I never made that connection, to be honest, which is weird
Yeah.
for me.
Same sound
But
thing,
I
man.
probably do like it because of that concept of
Yeah.
that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, and the thing is like it's something that's like it's so key within that hero that they had a different image for him before, like long time ago, long time ago. Pudge had like really weird abilities. I think he was like even like a summoner. Um, and this is like old Pudge. And it was funny, they used to have like ban list heroes, and I think I've talked about it on the show before. You could like type in a code when you were playing Dota 1, you could like open up a tavern, because the heroes were in like taverns back then that you could pick from, and they would open up like this secret tavern that was like banned heroes, and one of the heroes was Old Pudge, and he had all these like really wacky abilities. But like once Hook came out for him, and they like reorganized it for Hook, all these other things kind of like pulled this style out from it, like pulled this hero to like its new forefront and made something really cool out of it. Um, and like all the things are designed around that one ability, that one hook, because we all love the nostalgia of it, whether it's from playing Dota 1, or we have the Scorpion players who played it, and it's something that kind of like that's nostalgic, but it's also incredibly skillful. Landing one is so hard, and I'm talking myself up now by saying that, because like I play him all the time. But
What's
the
your,
thing
do you feel
is,
like your hook percentage is pretty good though?
I feel like I would probably say 70% of my hooks,
That's good.
but like that's me playing it for a long time, and like I I don't know if I would be adding in all the times that I missed, whenever I was like learning the hero from the very beginning. Um,
All right,
but
let's continue on the history of the hero, because there's still some more points I want to hit that are interesting that maybe people didn't know about the hero. At one point, Pudge was not allowed to purchase Blink Dagger.
it's true. It's true.
And because of that, what I told you earlier about being able to hook and then reposition, it would be like he could blink from a certain position, hook you, and then blink down into the river, and you'd like Mr. Magoo your way all the way back to the middle of the river, which obviously is not very fair or complicated for the amount of key presses
Well,
required, right?
actually, well, you're on the right
I'm
track.
probably half right. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because the reason why it was like that with the old coding of Dota, you could actually technically use Blink Dagger to get into spots where the courier could not. So what people would do is they would Blink Dagger with Pudge into a spot that like the courier couldn't get to, and then they would hook the person into that position, and then if Pudge died, okay, that's fine. The Pudge died, he's going to respawn, but he could then blink out if the guy didn't kill him, and then go on his merry way, and that guy would permanently be out of the game because he was hooked back there, and the courier couldn't reach him, so he couldn't give him the TP.
That's so funny. I've been trolled that way too. It was like one of the first times I was like, this game is a messed up place to be. A guy was just berating me over mic, and he just hooked me up onto the cliffs, and then he just wouldn't let the courier come to me. Like I was like clicking my hardest, and he just outpowered me and just berated me. And I was like, this is messed up. But I didn't abandon or anything. And that's when I realized Dota was it could be an awful place. But they, of course, did change that with the coding, and the coding changes, and now it works like it should. Dendy, of course, is a noted Pudge player, a player everybody knows and loves, kind of. And he's gained some success with him, right? He's been on the world stage with him multiple times. It's always kind of a big oohs and ahs from the audience when he actually does pick up Pudge in an audience even today. He actually dressed up as Pudge at TI5, I believe. What was the most
TI5?
TI5, yeah. He was in the audience, which is interesting. So,
Well, there's also to mention Ice Ice was playing him as an offlaner for
TI6,
Wings,
yeah.
and he played him in TI6. So there are plenty of Pudge players. I think there's a pretty good one on Leviathan. I think Jenkins is the guy who plays it on their team.
But it's not like first pick, first ban material, and it never has been really, right?
Right. It's kind of one of those things that's like, I feel like there's a lot of players. I mean, he's such a fun hero that a lot of players have him as in their back pocket. There are some that are more so than others, probably Ice Ice, Jenkins, and Dendy, so that whenever he does actually pop off into the meta, they have like that foothold, and they love the hero so much that they're fine with doing it that way. Um, so there is that backing it, but I feel like he's never really out. Like you can nerf him pretty hard, and he's been nerfed in the past in a pretty significant way. But he's truly about disrupting the enemy hero, the enemy team.
Everyone loves to do that, and like usually you're punished for something like that in Dota 2 if you think about it, you know. And so to have a hero that kind of embodies the very aspects that you're punished for, you know, being overly aggressive, you know, all this other stuff, not focusing on the gold but focusing on just hero kills, because it's a risk, right? And there's many other heroes that have the opposite philosophy, but this one kind of embodies that like I said, the pub stomping mentality that so many people have. And you know, it's a pretty cool thing, I think, to be able to play him well, because it's always good to be able to like pull someone from one position to another.
Oh, most definitely. And it's the cool thing is, like you said before, it's either saving or getting that initiation. Um, the hook is a multi-purpose tool, and when used correctly, it's incredibly deadly.
Oh yeah, and like if you have a legion on the other team and they duel someone, you just hook the person or even the legion away from the duel. It's like that's so huge. It's like nope, no duel for you. And like you're not going to be able to run up here because I was like up the river, like up a cliff, and I pulled the guy back, and so like by the time you get here, the duel's out.
Yep, exactly. Um, and that's just like some of the fun things that you can do with him. The thing that I think that has like put him back into the running um, is the ability of making your ultimate heal you now. Having that on Ags before, like Ags was kind of worthless. It was good because it did a lot of damage, and it was like if you're going down like the carry mid build, you could do it. Um, but like the way that they like pretty much gave him his ult from before, not doing that extra damage, but giving the hook a quicker cooldown by doing that too with having the Ags. Um, he kind of can he can kind of go into like a more carry type position with that. A lot of people don't really understand the potential that Pudge has with that. It's quite insane. It goes down to a 4 second cooldown when he has his hook, and it does a significant amount of like piercing physical damage, or pure damage. I'm sorry, pure damage to a hero. So when he gets hook, Um, when its damage for Scepter is 450 damage, and it pierces spell immunity. So even if they get a BKB, every 4 seconds you get 450 damage on top of someone, if they're right on top of you.
Which is
And
a
if you're
hella good nuke, if you think about it. Like, that's good damage in addition to what it does, right?
right, and it's pure spell pen, like, and it stuns as that like second of stun, so it can like screw people up. Um, it's an ability that people like. Yes, they don't get it because a lot of times you'll be playing support and you'll need other items, or some people will get it in pubs because obviously it just like wins over. But there's a reason why Ags has that potential. It creates the hero. It makes the hero be able to do damage when before he's just there as that initiation tool or that tool to pull someone out.
Because,
And
of
then
course,
he's like kind of done.
that was the big drawback there.
Yeah,
Is that he would fall off late in the game, and even if you were hooking someone, it's like it didn't really matter. You had no damage, and your only other way to damage is to run alongside with Rot. And
right.
so if they just, yeah, you just fell off. Now all these little changes that you can get can make him relevant throughout the game, and I'm all for that. I'm all for a hero, if that person plays the hero well, being able to make them relevant later into the game, because I think it brings more interesting games, more options, more abilities to like uncap the stats that you're weak in, or uncap attack speed, or uncap the range of your abilities. And so all this stuff to me is pretty cool because it just starts to feel like there's even more depth, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the heroes that don't adapt over time are the ones that should and probably will get changed eventually. You want people to have good different timing. You want to have heroes that have different timings in general. You don't want the game to become stale, but you also don't want it to be so lopsided. You want people to have like some relevancy throughout the entire game. The one
I
that
just want people to get what they put in, really, on every hero. You know what I mean? If you're
yeah,
playing better than a guy as someone like a Pudge or something, and like you're really outplaying them, and your team has the better teamwork and stuff, like you should win. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't just lose because a hero all of a sudden is bad and like can't possibly be relevant in the game.
yeah, I feel like that with Undying sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, it's one hero that like his early game is probably the best out there. Someone could argue maybe Ogre level 1 might be a little bit better, or there could be a couple others, but I don't know. Um, Undying is pretty insane at level 1, and if you think about it, like once he hits like 30 minutes in, it's like okay, he's kind of useful now. He's if he gets a lot of farm and he like shuts people down like super hardcore, but it's more of them not having farm than it is about him having farm at that point.
What would you change to make it more relevant? Make Tombstone worth less money or something?
That's the thing is like I feel like his ultimate is something that's like yeah, it's cool and it's kind of good, but his abilities are about like keeping his not even like keeping his distance, but like using kiting techniques, and his ultimate has to like you have to be close to them and you heal if you kill them. I don't know. It's
I
like
know what I'd do.
a little awkward.
I would make his Soul Rip or whatever slow, for one. Be a small
Interesting.
slow, or maybe a mini stun. I don't know. We'll talk Dice Frog about it. The second thing I would do is make the zombie effect that comes out of his tombstone come off of him and his ult. So he's just like, and like all these zombies are crawling around him because he's like supposed to be like the god of death or whatever. It's like death should shoot up around him. And so if you had both your tombstone and that, you'd have 2 stacks of zombies that could slow and be going after everybody. And if you had an Ags upgrade, you'd be able to have 2 zombies attack one dude.
Man, so you'd have 3 potential slows on one hero.
Yep, he'd just be Mr. Slow.
Mr. Slow.
Yeah, dude, he would be like just like a support 4 that would just like pretty much be a support. Keep the Tombstone gold the same, But I think like an Ags upgrade to have 2 zombies attacking someone and pulling them back even further would be cool.
Interesting.
Like
That's
upheaval, like we were just talking about that. Like it'd be like an upheaval effect on him, and the only way to get it to go away would be to kill him.
yeah. Huh.
Like he'd be the tombstone.
That would be cool. The thing is that it may be a little too powerful, but
Come on,
I do
Gaben.
like
You want it.
the concept is really cool though. Like if I'm getting a zombie lord, I think he should be like the king of slow. He should be like zombies are super slow, and he should be like turning everyone to zombies. So
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
actually, Soul Rip gives you like an ability like Kunkka's X, but it's like their souls left in the position. You Soul Rip them, and they're pulled back to their soul. No, I'm joking. No, actually, I think Soul Rip's kind of okay.
Soul Rip is okay in general. I feel like there's not really a lot of things that are done with Soul Rip that it feels like that if you're going into a team fight, you shouldn't have to have an ability that it only works in the team fight or only works because you have Tombstone up. Um, uh, it's kind of counterintuitive to what I was saying before, like that I love that one ability is based around Pudge having that ability to hook and then getting all that off. But with Tombstone, it feels just a little bit more awkward because you're having to have this thing set up, and then your ability kind of doesn't really work without it. I mean, you can work in like 5v5 scenario, but then it's just a single target nuke or a single target heal that exists that kind of is made. Single target isn't made for team fight, so it's kind of counterintuitive in general.
What if like the Ags upgrade made him be able to like do a damage? Like I guess you damage like a full area. Like imagine that, like being able to Soul Rip 5 guys and pull all that health back, or heal your team like 4 guys, 5 guys in an area.
See, that'd be cool, but then they'd have to get rid of the whole Ags thing that exists already, because you don't want Ags to do too many things, because then that's just like the one and only item. One of the biggest problems I have with Ags right now is like the way that Mirana has like changed over to like, okay, if you're playing Mirana, you have to build Ags now, and there's kind of no way around it. Like they've been nerfing it slowly over time to try to find that medium, but like man, right now, if I'm a support, I'm still building Ags on her.
She's
And
a support, much like she's like Pudge in a lot of ways. Not
or
necessarily,
offlane,
yeah, just not necessarily a support is what I meant. But I
yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
point that like to stun someone for a long duration is very good. To be able to make your team go invis and initiate is very good. Starstorm was changed from something that was meh to now it's very freaking good, and they've like made everything about her very good. And I'd like to see Undying come into his own in that way, but his ult does feel redundant right now. It feels like his ult, excuse me, does feel kind of redundant. It's just like here, there's this big tanky guy. You know what his ult does? It makes him a big tankier guy, and like that's all it does. It's like it doesn't make it more interesting. Maybe visually it looks pretty cool, I will admit, but at the same time, it's like the utility isn't there to warrant like. No one's ever said that I've heard like Undying's got his ult up, awesome. We'll take this fight, and it's just like it just feels meh. It's very negligible.
yeah. It feels like you have to get so thick into everything, which I know he's like a tank machine. He's Mr. Tank Man, but like, I don't want to put myself deep into enemy territory for an ability to work, right? Like, even if you're like you just touch him and then run away, it still is kind of crappy. I don't know. It just adds that extra damage, right, and that ability to heal off of the guys who are infected, which is cool. But I feel like Dota is like not designed around that. Um, Even like the tanks, unless your axe are like not they still want to dodge spells, and they still want to like they don't want to have to like go deep into the territory to make things work unless you have an ability that like makes them attack you in a certain way.
I'd like to see them take the full step into like his aesthetic, because it feels like he's just like zombie. He's a zombie man who can summon zombies and turn into a big zombie. Like I feel like there's so much cool stuff you could do with his aesthetic that he could be a cool hero in the game because he has that design. But I don't know. We'll see. We're here to mainly talk about Pudge today, and he is someone whose ult is not bad. It's godly. pierces BKB, locks somebody down, and like you said, heals him. And like he's just a manhandler, the hero. Or woman handler, but he's a butcher, the male butcher, so he's a manhandler. But he just will disrupt a team by picking you off. And I find him very fascinating to play and very fascinating to like watch good people play him because he is someone who has a very limitless skill ceiling. And I would suggest him to anybody, new and old player alike. I know Flubb's been playing quite a bit of him, and I play Mirana more, but I've taken a couple of Pudge games just because it's a good hero if you just kind of want to relax and get some hooks and tune out, I guess, in ways, but also contribute to the team.
Yeah, I think that I also think that what's really cool about him. A lot of people kind of go back and forth on this argument. I personally believe that not only Hook is a very like skill-based skill that he has, not skill-based skill, a very skillful ability that he has. I also think that Rot also has a lot of skill behind it. People generally, there's a lot of times where people will kind of get lucky with the hero and rot at the correct points, but there's also like other heroes that you can say that get like lucky, quote unquote, with their abilities. I mean, look at like PA. She's the luck machine. Whether it's you attacking her or her getting crits, they're moving away from it in general, but it's still like an ability that you can control and use the way in a use that you can use to like deny yourself or truly understand the hero of like when you can go in, when you can't, because you're going to be doing damage to yourself. And it's interesting. On the Monday show, they actually brought up the idea of like making it like Veno ult, where it goes down until it can't deny you, where it's like non-lethal damage. But I just feel like then I would just have Pudge do a different role. Like I would just not have the damage dealt. His rot would be there for just slowing someone down. You hook and then you just right click someone.
All of his abilities seem to do something and have another like purpose or utility or something like that. You know what I mean? And I guess like reformatting heroes like Undying, it's not a bad idea to do that. And I think their design philosophy shows that with like the PL change with his W, his second ability, Doppelganger. It used to just be an invis, and it would create another guy that would run off. But now it actually removes you from the game or whatever temporarily where there's iframes or whatever, and then you're back with the scrambled up lineup. So it's interesting to see what they do. And do you have anything else to add before we move on to our item of the week, Flubb, about Pudge?
Well, the thing about Pudge is that I really wanted to describe one thing about him. There's 3 ways that you can get a hook when you're playing Pudge. One, it's don't break tree line. Try to always stay hidden. Use tree lines to your advantage and hook in from darkness. 2, you can use the what I call the fake hook. It's really important. It's something that takes a little bit to get used to. But hook cancel, you throw your hook, do hold position, but your guy will do like an animation. And a lot of people who learn to dodge hooks, they'll make a certain move at that point. If you are quick enough, you just dodge hook and then you hook where they're gonna go, and it's hard to have that rotation movement speed for them to react to that hook again. It's the easiest way whenever they actually see you in lane and you're like face to face. Fake hooking is like the best way to get pucks. It's the best way to get these heroes that have these like dodgy abilities. The third and one of the best ways to do it is utilize your smokes. A lot of Pudge players that I see, they don't buy smokes early. Even when I were to go mid, it's something that I picked up from Dendy. He would actually buy a smoke before the minute 1 even hit, like minute 0, like when you're like buying your beginning items. As a mid player, he would actually pick up a smoke because he didn't know if he was going to get a haste rune and just be able to come out of nowhere, and like having that extra invisibility from a smoke guarantees that kill pretty much in that scenario, which is definitely needed if you're leaving the mid lane. So if you're all about ganking and that's what your hero is pretty much centered on, make sure you utilize the abilities that you have item wise as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Good points and good mechanical stuff you all can take away. Fake hooking is good and something I don't do. When I want to land a hook, I throw it, cross both my fingers, and hope, the thing lands most of the time. A lot of it is instinct. A lot of it is being able to readjust, just like anything, if you think about it. A last hit, if you are about to hit something and you can't get it, you realize you have to stop real fast and readjust your last hit. And so hooking's no different. That's what I would compare stop hooking to, and I think it's interesting. So... moving on, we actually did not get the poll up. I'm blaming Roland on this one. He dropped the ball. He's supposed to get stuff like that up. No, he's not. We honestly just didn't get it up. Got lost in the bureaucratic rigmarole or something. So we just have decided to just do Blink Dagger because we're doing more of a skill shot oriented show, and we feel like it ties in nicely. And we will hopefully get a poll up next week if we can get one of these yahoos to do it. But the Blink Dagger is a very interesting item, right? It costs what is it, 2250 or 2150?
It costs 2250.
2250. It's just a base cost. It gives you no stats. It literally just blink, blink, blink. It's a great item. It's been changed a bit as well, and I'd like to go into those changes a little bit. For one, I think one interesting change is the blink distance, right? I mean, how you used to be able to blink further when you would select the thing and you didn't have a range indicator. So if you select the furthest amount possible, it would blink that distance, of course, whatever the max blink is. But if you blinked past that max distance, it would actually blink less than the actual max distance, right?
Yep. And the thing is that it would also... it also used to cost mana too. That's something that a lot of people forget because it's been changed for a couple years now. But it used to cost mana to be able to blink, and like having mana drain abilities was pretty deadly because you could like technically get away, and you could do like the whole like barely be out of someone's reach for a few steps that people like to do with Blink Dagger and then be able to blink away. But when it costs like 25 mana to blink, it was a death sentence at sometimes just to be able to do that. Or it was funny, a lot of times people would with Sand King not do their mana properly and charge up their ultimate and then didn't have enough mana to
Oh man, yeah, that feels too punishing. I like where the item has landed now, just because it's one of the only items in the game that behaves this way, that you can't blink if you've been hit. You know what I mean? And so you have to be clear and out of present danger, clear and present danger, you know what I mean? And get clear from that situation before you can blink, typically. If they're on top of you or smoked up on you and hit you, you can't obviously blink out. And so there's that caveat there that is very interesting to me and always has been, because not a lot of other things work like that in Dota.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's also what's really great about it is that it still functions like all other blinks. Where it actually projectiles don't like it. It's a geez, what's the word for it? It makes you reappear. So any like projectile that's coming at you, it actually misses you because it goes to the target that existed beforehand, which is really good for in general just distancing yourself, for having multiple utilities for the ability. Kind of gives you like a little bit of a Lincoln sphere, but not really at the same time.
It's a skill shot Lincoln sphere, you know? Like, right. I don't know, you can't disjoint a lot of stuff in this game. I like how you said projectile based. I mean, there's of course some things that does not count for, like certain spells and stuff like that. But even then, some things like Sven's stun, for instance, you can blink out of. I know, because people blink out of mine all the time, and it's like, gah, gah, like it just feels like, why me? But it is actually something that's a skill. Of course, tapping the item twice in your inventory, if you have that turned on, will blink you towards your fountain too. So I see a lot of people that like will click the item and then have to go back and click the map. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't need to do that. If you know people aren't towards you, towards your fountain, just blink and it'll send you back in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So just little things about the item that I find interesting, I guess. There's not much more to say on it. It's something like an armlet or anything else, or a force staff or anything. It takes skill to use, and you'll start to realize that timing window when you disjoint things, and maybe it'll help you understand a little more. It's an incredible item in its own way, and it functions on 2 levels. So what else do you have to add, Flub?
Well, I also want to say that it is any hero damage that is dealt to you puts it on a cooldown. So it's very important if you're playing Pudge. It has since been eradicated that you couldn't get it before. You can now get it on Pudge, and it's been like that for a few years now. But clicking Rot on when you have a Blink Dagger sets it on cooldown.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's still the line of thought that it's actually better to have a force staff in that scenario still, because you can use it while you're rotting. You can just rot and then force yourself up, plus giving you all the stats that it normally does. So Blink Dagger, one of the coolest items and one of the most controversial items. Really, that if you talk to other people who play other MOBAs, a lot of time whenever you look at the other MOBA sets, League of Legends complains about Blink Dagger all the time. Smite does as well, and Heroes of the Storm complains a lot about it. Any of those players, like I like to keep myself well versed within what people like and dislike about Dota, and that is one of their hot topics. Having an item that everyone can buy in the game that has a 12-second cooldown for a blink, and it is good. But the thing is, there's a lot of restrictions on it. There's a lot keeping that item down that I don't feel like a lot of people realize.
Yeah, and it's an interesting item. It works a little differently in other games that you see it, longer cooldowns, etc. But there's not much more to be said on it, I don't think. I've always thought of, I don't know, just little changes you could make, and I think it's actually at a good place for the integrity of the game and just what it's supposed to function as. Imagine if it provided move speed or something like that, or like you could buy an earlier item that built in to make a Blink Dagger with a Windlace or something, and it'd be called like a blip stick or something. I don't know, like, and you just barely blip or something, and you could just like disjoint things, like kind of like the Shadow Amulet to the Shadow Blade kind of logic.
That's interesting, man. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've thought about that in my head and been like, would that function? But I don't know. I think a lot of with the timing is that you can get it early or you can get it a little later and it'll still be impactful. It kind of just, like the way of Pudge, like it's good to be able to move around the map. It's good to be able to move people around the map. It's good to be able to lock people down. And all these are just fundamentals of the game. It's good to be able to stun. It's good to be able to slow.
Yep, positioning is always the main focus in MOBAs, and something that can instantly change your position in a variety of different ways and go over obstacles is invaluable.
So we are actually going to do another poll. A Flub, just come up with 3 items off the top of your head that you might want to do, because I did it last week.
3 items that I want to do. Okay, for sure. What I want to do is Necronomicon.
Cool, great idea.
I want to talk about Necronomicon. It's kind of in a cool place, I think, and I think people need to know more about it.
Let's just roll the force staff, and what was the other thing? Yules into it.
Yeah, force staff and Yules.
So, because we were going to do that this week, we'll let them vote, and I'm sure people do want to hear about the Necro. I know I do. That sounds interesting to have a discussion about. So, you can vote online. We'll get that poll up, hopefully, if the intern doesn't mess it up. He hates when I call him that, Roland. But we will get that up so you guys can vote on it. Please take the time to participate. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us and supporting us here at .p. I am the Grand Wazoo, and that is my co-host, Flubb. Flubb, can you tell people where they can find you?
Well, you guys can find me at FlubbDota on Twitter. Also, you guys can check us out, either Proud or Ursi, the hosts on the Thursday show. Like to stream our practices on Sundays. We're generally keeping them up from like we'll generally go from like 2 to 5 and then like 7 to 10. So generally throughout that day, you guys can check in with us, see when we're practicing and set up the stream. We'll set up the stream there if you want to get an inside look on how Ham does things. So um, that's really the two greatest ways to check me out. And in the next week, I will be getting out the sniper review, and then the month after that, I'd like you guys to like send me a message over Steam, or just send me a message over Steam, Twitter, any way that you can get at me. Send me an email through the .p. And just ask about what hero you want to learn about next. I'm trying to start this up and trying to get information on what you guys want to hear from me. So.
The answer is Pudge. I want to see that. Pudge is always the answer. But as for me, I am the Grand Wazoo. You can find me at .p_wazoo on Twitter. Come on out to our in-houses on Wednesday nights run by Grouty. You can be reached at Grouty Dota if you want to yell at him or file complaints, any complaints, not only with .p, but your life, remember. You can send directly to him. He has to read that. He's contractually obligated. And also, guys, check us out on Twitch at .ptv, and check us out on YouTube at .ptv1. Lots of great content coming out of both these days. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys involved. If you want to get involved with the community, you can find us at defenseofthepatients.com. There's some information there about it. Or that's just a good resource if you want to download the podcast in general. So guys, this is the end of our week here at Tryhard Tuesdays. Remember, stay hard and do not get hooked.